Welcome to In My Feelings, a safe space to talk all things NBA. I'm your host, Big Waz, a.k.a. Wozni Lambre. Let's go. All right, guys, let's jump right into Factor Feelings. And first up, Factor Feelings, the Grizzlies season is over. I'm going to go ahead and call that a fact, man. This week, the Grizzlies went ahead and fired Taylor Jenkins, a guy who is the winningest coach in the 30-year history of the Memphis Grizzlies. I know it's not saying much. It's not like the Grizzlies or the Lakers or the Celtics or something who've enjoyed decades of success, but still, like, this guy got hired in 2019 and basically has known nothing but success since getting to the Grizzlies. These guys were basically in the middle of a rebuild, got some young talent together, and this guy ushered them to Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. He ushered them into their first taste of NBA success, right? 250-14. Like I said, most winning in coach in franchise history. And this is after they had a lost season of Ja Morant injuries and suspensions, etc. This guy has done a good job in Memphis, and I think he'll get another opportunity to coach in the NBA. I think he's earned that. Now, the atmosphere surrounding the firing is so interesting or weird, if we want to be frank about it, because last summer, what they did was they fired 5 of this guy's assistant coaches, then basically foisted a group of people he didn't know from Adam onto him and said, all right, this is your new coaching staff. We'll get into why that matters, but let's just table that for a second. So you fire this guy's entire staff, which is basically, NBA management version of cutting a guy's nuts off, right? And be like, all right, you got to come into this season with a new staff, and this new staff is going to get you to revamp this offense. We want to bring some new juice into the offense, and they did that. Right? They hired a guy named Noah LaRoche, who you can read the reports. He was one of the architects of the offensive revamp, as well as a guy named Tomas Isalo. Finnish guy, has a good reputation, coached in Paris, won some Euro Leagues and Euro Cups and stuff like that. And I think the offense has been more dynamic and has been improved this season. I think you can be happy with the results. But the reports that you read from people super tapped into what's happening in Memphis is that the management was dissatisfied with Memphis's record against the best teams in the league. I think by the time Taylor Jenkins got fired, they were like 11-20 or something like that. As of this recording, they're like 11-23. By that reading, I guess you could say it made sense to let go of this guy, but a couple of things kind of get on my nerves. And I'm never one to cry for coaches because, look, Taylor Jenkins is a big boy. This is a big boy league. He's going to get paid. His family's going to be straight. He'll get another job. I'm not going to sit here and cry for the coaches, but there's 2 situations that get on my nerves. One is the GM, Zach Kleiman, who, again, in our profession, unless you don't go out and get 9,000 draft picks in a GM move, you can't possibly be an idiot. They're reticent to call a move dumb. However, I think it's weird that you go out, you fire this dude's entire staff in the offseason. Then when you read the reports, ESPN, The Athletic, etc., there was a concern that people like Ja Morant might be tuning the coach out. Excuse me, the players aren't stupid. When you take a guy's literal entire staff and you basically tell them to go kick rocks, you've demonstrated to the players that this dude is no longer empowered here. This dude, his days are numbered. He's basically dead man walking. So you've effectively fired the coach, but in the eyes of the players before even doing so. Everybody knows this. This isn't some new concept in the NBA. So I think you basically threw this season in the trash. A season that everybody agreed that the Grizzlies should be trying to achieve something. A second round playoff berth. I mean, if everything goes right, a conference championship, God forbid a finals run. And the idea that you basically set the wheels in motion that this season would get thrown in the trash, I think it's crazy that a GM does that and everybody's just like, well, that's just the business. That's crazy to me. He should have had the stones to move on from Taylor Jenkins last year and start afresh and be like, yo, we got a new vision for what we're doing here with the Grizzlies. But because he didn't have the stomach for that, you're firing a guy with 9 games left in the season, and there's just no way anybody can reasonably think that the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be better for having completely changed things at the top in terms of the head coach, the head man. And whatever, that's not to diss Tomas Isalo. Like, I'm sure that, like, whatever, I've done a bare minimum of digging into this dude, and he seems to be a really smart, sharp basketball mind, legitimately innovative stuff that he did over in Europe. Like, I'm sure this guy, has more basketball knowledge in his pinky than I'll ever achieve. I'm not even taking that away from the guy that you've now installed, who, by the way, paid mad money, for his buyout in Paris, paying him in the 7 figures to be a backbench assistant, whatever. I'm not even disputing that. But at the same time, like, people need to understand the sort of culture around the NBA, and these guys don't like outsiders. It's hard for them to give deference and trust to outsiders. And what do I mean by outsiders? Guys who aren't NBA lifers, meaning, they've been with the team, came up in the ranks, are NBA guys, been around the league forever, or are former players, right? These guys tend to respect dudes with some level of what they deem to be credibility. And this guy has none of that. I'm not talking about his actual X's and O's and coaching acumen. I'm talking about his ability to get through to a group of guys and be like, look, you guys should follow me in our mission to be a better team. And so that's why I just think this is crazy. No training camp, no nothing. We get it. The writing was on the wall. You paid the hell out of this guy to poach him from Europe, and you wanted to empower him, and whatever. God bless. We'll see. I think the most important part of this, though, is the Ja Morant angle. And it's for a bunch of reasons. You miss a bunch of games this season because of injury. You can't stay on the court. We know all the crazy things that happened in the offseason last year. Everybody, has basically had their say. It was inexcusable and needed to stop and all of that. But here's the thing about Ja and the Grizzlies. Like, you guys are no longer cute anymore. You're not in the toddler phase where, whenever you throw up on yourself or you break a vase in the crib, everybody's like, oh my God, that's so cute. Did you see them break that vase? Oh my God, they said a curse word. That's funny. Say it again. Oh, that's so bad. Don't do that. You guys are past that point. You're not some cute little novelty anymore. You're not some young upstarts anymore. Jaren Jackson's about to be on his 3rd NBA deal this summer. Okay? Ja Morant, you got a Supermax. You the face of the franchise. Desmond Bane, on and on down the line. Like, it's time for these guys to step up and do something, to achieve something. Like, Taylor Jenkins is his own man. He's failed as a coach. You guys are underachieving right now. But at the same time, no coach gets fired when a team is reaching their goals. And when a team isn't reaching their goals, you look at the most important person in the building, and that's Ja Morant. He needs to bear some responsibility here. And we're now at a fork in the road, bro. You got a coach fired, bro. I'm not saying you went into Kleiman's office and said, get this guy out of here. I'm talking about the team that you are leading is underachieved to the extent that the coach got fired, bro. And so that's what I'm, sort of stuck on to see how the Grizzlies and, more important, Ja Morant treat this fork in the road. And it's crazy because you get sort of both sides of where this thing could be headed in their last game against Golden State, where they go down a ton really early. And I'm watching this game live and I'm like, oh God, here we go. These guys have quit on the season. They're done. They're ready for Cancun or Bahamas. They come back. It's a tight ass game basically going down. Ja Morant ends up having 36 points. And what happens at the end? Just bad execution, some tough turnovers by Ja. Warriors just out-execute them, as you would expect a team like the Warriors with guys like Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr. We're talking about between them maybe 30 NBA finals between them, right? And so it's everything that you would be worried about if you want to be worried about the Grizzlies, as well as giving you sort of an inkling that things aren't all lost. Like I've said, this game could have easily been one of those nights where it's just you know what? Our coach got fired. We're underachieving. The season's over. We're moving on. These guys actually battled. And Golden State with Jimmy Butler is something like 19-3, 20-3 or something crazy like that. They've been one of the more formidable foes in the conference since they traded for Jimmy. And so, like, yeah, I was super bullish, in January on this team. I thought this was a team that could make a finals run. Clearly, I was wrong about that. And Ja, like, even in this game, he's dropping 36 while Steph is putting 52 on his head top. They're battling what is clearly one of the best teams in their conference, but also making boneheaded decisions down the stretch of a really close game. So it feels like they're knocking on the door of something of meaning in terms of what they could achieve as a group, man. I still believe they're knocking on the door of some success. But man, it is nut crunching time. Like, it's over with the, oh, this is a nice young team. Oh, there's so much potential. Nah, you're done. We're done with that, guys. Like, these guys got to put up or shut up going forward. Or else, yeah, all these stories you seeing out of different media outlets, like, is it time for the Grizzlies to move on from Ja Morant? Should he be on the trade block, et cetera, et cetera? I know the GM came out and gave him a full-throated endorsement, but this is the reality of our league. Like, bro, if you're not producing, then they got to cut bait and start doing something else. And so, yeah, their season is cooked. I truly believe that. They look like they headed for the play-in, which is absolutely absurd. If somebody would have said this when they were 34-15, like, this would be just an insane notion. But yeah, the season is done. But I do think, man, if these guys have the will within themselves to, turn the trajectory of this nucleus and this group around, they can still achieve it. Because you look up and down this roster, there's so much talent and so much to fall in love with. But Ja Morant specifically has to wake up and take his career, by the horns and do the right thing.
All right, Waz, we want to see what your feelings about this week. Shams reported that the NBA has launched an investigation against Ja Morant for pointing finger guns at the Golden State Warriors bench on Tuesday night. What are your thoughts? How you feel about that?
Why? What are we doing? Again, I know a bunch of people like, oh, well, it's the optics. And like, why do we, guys, I'm sorry. The NBA suspension last year was a gross overreach. And I think a lot of players in the Players Association were kind of disgusted by Ja's antics, that they were in dereliction of their duties in allowing the NBA to do this gross overreach with the Ja suspension last year. I personally, in real time, thought it was ridiculous, but whatever, cool. NBA, what are you investigating? Who's on this investigation? What is it your job to do? To review the tape of Ja doing this? For people who aren't paying attention, basically the entire game of Warriors Memphis on Tuesday night, every time Ja scored, he would do the finger guns, whatever thing with his dad, and he's finger gunning all game, whatever. No particular direction or whatever. Golden State basically cements their win, and Buddy Hield taunts him with a finger gun, like, oh, your finger gun now. And then Ja does it back exaggeratedly, and then now we have to pretend, or the NBA for some stupid fucking reason has to pretend that this is some crime committed by Ja Morant against the league's rules. Stop it, dude. Stop. There's nothing to investigate. Stop being ridiculous. It's finger guns, God. Stop this shit, bro. Stop it. Use your time more wisely. All right, guys, that was our show for today. Make sure you subscribe to the Ringer NBA YouTube page. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell so that you're informed every time we drop a fresh new In My Feelings. And make sure you hit us with the like button. The algorithm really, really appreciates when you guys do that. We will see you next week. Peace out.